Hello, BookTube. Today I'd like to do the first of Patrick O'Brian's Aubrey and Maturin books, a book chat about Master and Commander. Years ago, a version of this came out in the movies starring Russell Crowe. I have always had a love for nautical fiction. I was a sailor in the Coast Guard for many years. I read a lot of nautical fiction. But this series, because of the sheer size of it, had always been sort of an outlier for me, which sounds strange. And then I wanted to get a full set, and I started collecting the Norton paperbacks, which are very nice. But then the Folio Society, a few years ago, undertook a project to publish the entire set of 20 volumes. And I said, well, I'm going to hold off. I'm not going to read them. I'm going to collect the 20 volumes so I have a nice set, and then I'll read through them. So for every kind of present you can imagine, Christmas, birthdays, anniversaries, whatever, my wife would get them for me. And I finally finished. I have the complete Folio Society set, and I've just undertaking the project to read them. And so they're slipcase like a normal Folio Society. I'll give you an idea what they look like. So here's Master and Commander. It's nice buckram. They each, like, this is a sextant, and there's like a series of images, and then it restarts, I think, 4 times. So you'll have 4 of these, 4 cannons, cutlasses, whatever, anchors. And, oh yeah, they're here. So actually they show these here too. So, a little bit of rope work. The volumes are gorgeous. I mean, here's a map of the Mediterranean for the end papers. They've found historic illustrations from the time. There's several sections of these. Like this. So the books are gorgeous, and they're a fun way to read. So I sat down. This was first published originally in the United States in 1969, and then in 1970 it came out in Great Britain. Patrick O'Brian is a writer from Great Britain. They're mostly set in the Napoleonic era, and it follows the stories of a young Captain Jack Aubrey. Well, he's not a captain yet. He's a young, he's a lieutenant. And Stephen Maturin, who is a physician and a naturalist. And in the beginning of the first book here, and I don't want to give away too much, a little down on their luck. Maturin's, he's in Port Mahon. It's a Navy port, Royal Navy. And he's a lieutenant without a ship. Maturin is sort of down on his luck. He's a naturalist with a highly trained physician, but he's Irish. That at that time was a bit of a problem for him, a challenge. There were Irish nationals in the Royal Navy, however, as we'll find out, because Maturin and Captain, I keep calling him Captain Aubrey because that's who he is throughout the series, but Jack Aubrey meet at a governor's mansion, like little affair where there's some music playing. They both play. And Aubrey's this big bear of a man, very hard on his sleeve, rambunctious, big bear guy. And he's playing, he loves what he's playing, but he's going a little too fast. The beat's a little too fast. And Maturin, without knowing Jack Aubrey, gives him a little bit of an elbow. And both are under a lot of stress, and it's going to lead to a duel. Well, before the duel can happen, Aubrey gets command of a 14-gun sloop named the Sophie, and he's jubilant. So he's raised a master and commander. He's got a first lieutenant named James Dillon, who's also Irish, like Maturin. And Aubrey meets him. The duel just goes away because who can be mad at this guy? He's dancing with joy. Aubrey asks Stephen Maturin to join the ship, and even though he's way overqualified, he does so as a ship's surgeon. There's a little bit of an odd thing going on between the first mate Dillon, who's an Irishman, and Stephen Maturin, who's an Irishman. They both have been involved in Irish causes, so it sends some discomfort. And basically, all these operations take place throughout the Mediterranean, and eventually the Sophie, the ship, the sloop, meets up with a larger, better armed Spanish Xebec frigate, a 32 gun, and the Sophie, they got nowhere near the firepower. And then in fine fashion, the Sophie takes on this vessel and wins a reputation. I'll leave it at that. I use a couple things. I made some notes here, but I use a couple things to help me to do this besides the notes, because these are very. I don't want to give away the story. But there have been some aids. Not everybody who comes to these has a nautical background, and even those of us who do, most of us didn't fight in the Age of Sail. I'm not that old. The first of them I'd like to show you is Harbors and High Seas, an atlas and geographical guide to the Aubrey Maturin novels by Patrick O'Brian. This is the second edition by Dean King with John B. Hattendorf. And it's immensely helpful. It'll give you the geography of where you happen to be. So before it all starts, they give you Europe, some of the important areas like Whitehall. Here's England, southern England, English Channel. Winds, which are important to a sailing ship. But then I marked here, Chapter 1 is Master and Commander. So I'll give you a brief synopsis, give you an idea what's going on. So here they'll have Algeciras Bay, which is also called the Bay of Gibraltar. Then they'll have a section on Gibraltar. Highlight of the Sophie's lucky cruise. Oh, I don't know how well you can see that. So you can follow this in the book. It'll have a little historical image of Mahone Harbor, where everything starts in Port Mahone, and there's the Straits of Gibraltar. So it's not a very long write-up of each of these, but you can probably see here they have little keys where some of the action takes place. And for that part of it, excuse me, this is really good. But to supplement that, Patrick O'Brian really researched these things, and there's a lot of detail. And to help you with the language, A Sea of Words, also a second edition, and also with Dean King and John B. Hattendorf, but also J. Worth Estes on this volume. It's a lexicon and companion for Patrick O'Brian's seafaring tales. And also very helpful. So if you get to the types of sailing ships, it's going to help you out. So let's see. We just had a Xebec, and here's a Xebec right there. So there's all that sort of thing. And obviously it's lexicons of the words. I find both volumes to be helpful. I absolutely love the first one. So, like I say, there's 19 more to go after this. So it's going to be a steady project. It's going to be slow and steady. They're for enjoyment. I'm not going to push myself to get through them to get them read. I'm going to have them almost like a treat, and that's what they're meant to be. So I very much enjoyed it. I don't do stars. I don't do all that stuff because I would never be consistent from week to week. It's just not my nature. But I would give them my highest rating, which is I strongly recommend them to anybody who loves nautical fiction. And even if you don't, if you like period historical fiction, you might very much enjoy this. So thank you, BookTube.